Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know you all want to go and have lunch, so I'll try to make this session as much fun and as much short as I possibly can so we can all go out. I'm here today, and thank you for the invitation to the team to talk about customer service. And I'm really glad that you came and that you watched this session. Please stay until the end as we will have a little treat for you guys. So basically, my name is Ricardo. I came from Portugal, right? I'm one of the PIGS countries. And I am here today because for the past 2 years, we've been working with companies of all sizes, from small businesses to bigger ones, in understanding and improving their customer experience and the way they treat both the customer in terms of buying, the process of buying the product, and as well as the process of supporting the client after he bought the product. So just a little bit of a show of hands. Who here is in the service businesses? So you sell services and not products? Okay, and who here is in the product business? So basically you sell products and not services. Okay, there's a big difference between the two and the ways that you build relationships with your clients in one or the other. But the very first question that got us started was this one, right? How do you sell anything? And I mean really anything, be it services or products. How do you do it? You either do it by price, which is something that companies usually do, and they get into this price war, right? But the problem with doing it by price, and ask any telecom, and they will tell you that for sure, is that everyone is doing it. And so the problem is that you need to reduce your price, and as you reduce your price, you reduce your margin, and you are not able to provide such an outstanding services because you don't have the margin anymore to do it. The second is quality, right? We all pride ourselves in having huge quality services. And the thing is, quality is very important, and you can sort of get to a new segment where you're a premium product and you differentiate yourself because of the quality of your product. But quality is something that, since every brand is trying to say they have a very quality product, you cannot differentiate yourself anymore just by saying that you have a quality product. And so why we believe you can differentiate yourself from the competition is in terms of service. Because you can say you have a great service, but clients, if they don't feel you have a great service, they'll tell another, whoa, that was a fast move. They'll tell another story, and when they do so, you'll eventually lose some of your business. And so there's this huge notion that planning your customer service and your customer experience is a very demanding task. And I agree that it is very, very difficult to actually execute your customer service strategy. But planning it and seeing which are the things you should be caring about, that's, well, not so hard. And for us, it is really about a few things. The first one is caring. If you don't care about your customer, if you don't care about the industry you're working on, then none of what I'm going to tell you guys today will even matter. Customer service is also about making different. You need to make different from your competition in terms of the way in which you create experience around the customer buying your products or services. Customer service is responding when your competition is not responding. And customer service is being human. That's very important. You're in a relationship between one person and the other, and so if you're not human, you're not doing it right. And lastly, as I have been saying, customer service is all about the experience. It's all about how do you treat your clients, how do you provide them with the services or the products you're selling, and then when you sell them, instead of just looking around and pretending you're not there, is about the way in which you support your products and you support your services. And so this is a very interesting stat. It comes from a data, it's a data from Dimensional Research. And they say that 39%, almost half of your clients, they will not come back to you for at least 2 years if you screw up on the service. And that is critical because we as businesses, we tend to look at price and quality. And I'm not saying price and quality are not important or are not key driving factors of the success of your business. All I'm saying is that this is the obvious stuff, right? All I'm saying that you need to care about your customers, that the price is important, that the quality is important. That is all obvious. You didn't came here obviously, I hope, to hear that. But the thing about customer service is that it is a change, and we've been seeing that with all our clients, it is a change that takes a lot. Because first you need the awareness part, and we are pretty okay on that end. So most of us are aware that customer service is important and we should treat our clients right. But then comes the next two parts, and those are the different and difficult ones, because first you need to put the mindset of your whole team working towards providing a great customer experience, and then you have the process. So you need to change the process inside your company to make sure they follow what you believe is right. And so what we've been seeing is that in business there's this metrics about customer acquisition. So you know the price of acquiring a new customer. But what most businesses we've been working with don't really take into consideration is what is the cost of customer retention. What do you have to do? How much do you have to spend, be it on human resources or technology, to make sure that your customer comes one time, but also he returns and he drives you more business. And also at some point, that single client becomes a brand ambassador and helps you spread the word with other potential clients. So being great at customer service after you define your strategy is really hard because there's a lot of variables. And each business has a very specific setting in which they operate, and that makes it harder for me to come here and tell a bunch of global, applicable solutions. And technology actually, in one way, it is making it easier, but in the other hand, it is making it harder. And it's harder because the expectations of the customers are changing with the technological change. And so we're now in this Insta service phase of the way in which brands deal with clients. Why? Because now we have to be always on, we have to be always right, and we have to be always fast. Otherwise, the customer will complain. If we don't reply in time on social networks, they will complain. If we are not online, they will complain. If we don't solve the problem that the user is facing, it will obviously complain. And then there's this extra factor here, which is you have to always be human. And that is extremely hard because your support guy is behind a phone or behind the computer. And your user is behind the phone or is behind the computer. But although you're interacting directly with machines, our expectations is that we are dealing with people on the side of the companies, and so we should be treated as people and treat the others as people. And so if you're thinking, yeah, but they can just call and there's this human interaction, do you really think this new generation to which I belong will ever call you if something goes wrong? Well, the truth is that they will not. They will post it on social networks or they will make something away with that. So the question that matters is what can we as businesses do to improve the ways in which we treat our customers and eventually to drive business results with that, because eventually that's all that matters. So the first thing we need to do is we need to understand this new wave of consumers and how do they interact with brands. One of the biggest mistakes we've been seeing is that most of the brands we've been working with, they have the same expectations as they have with the traditional channels for the new channels. And that is the first mistake, because in the new channels there's new behavior, and that new behavior needs to be understood and accompanied, otherwise you will not be able to be successful. And so what happens right now is that my feedback, and that is you, my feedback, it goes to your potential customers, it goes to review websites. Anyone knows what that logo is for? Okay, one person. What? Yelp. Yes, exactly. So Yelp is this very, in case you don't know, Yelp is this very popular website, especially on the United States, where you can rate and comment on businesses. So it's some sort of TripAdvisor for the non-restaurants and non-hotel businesses. And then you have, of course, the friends, not only through Facebook, but also through messages. And if you're not listening, what happens is that if you are here isolated and you're not creating the channels or the culture to hear the customer, you're losing the big picture of what is going on. So, and I've said that before, people tell me it's not really smart to get on stage and call your audience stupid, okay? But I'll try it anyway. And I think you have to keep it simple. Really. This is a mantra that we apply a lot on technological services with the whole lean methodology and stuff. But in customer service, it is really keeping things controlled and keeping things safe. And the first thing you need to do is the hardest thing to do. And please trust me, because that's one of the problems I have. I love to talk, right? And so when we as businesses, we love to talk because we believe that the more we talk, the more we make buzz, the more we make noise, the more we'll get customers. And so we talk and we talk and we talk, but actually what we should be doing all this time is listening. Because when we listen, we actually have the opportunity to learn something from our customers, or for our customers that didn't really turn into customers because of something. So listening is important. How do you listen? First, you are on the right social channels. You need to be there. So there's a lot of discussion, and we're working with a very big brand in Portugal to bring them to Facebook or not. And there's this fear that if you are on Facebook, you'll get negative comments. You'll get negative feedback. But the truth is, if you react to that negative feedback in a positive way, it translates into good businesses, and it translates into a customer that wasn't happy and might become happy. Because the truth is, if you're not on Facebook, they will still be angry, they will still be sharing that anger with others, and the only difference in the process is that you're not there to try and control and minimize the damage. And of course, you need to provide easy access to support. I keep telling that to brands because let's imagine I get to Lithuania on my flight yesterday night, and this actually happened, and my phone doesn't work, so I don't have a connection. And what I do is I try to call my carrier back at home, Vodafone, and they say the problem is not with Vodafone, is with my local carrier, which I will not mention the name in case it's any sponsor. And so I try to go to their page and find a number I can call, a number where I can get support, because to be honest, Vodafone back at home is not helping me much, so I need to do it by myself because I need my phone. And the thing is, back at the hotel, I spent at least 20 minutes trying to figure out the right number to call. And I can tell you something for sure. I was annoyed, but when I got to the person on the phone, I was really, really pissed off, right? Because not only did I have a problem, but now I was calling from my hotel phone to a number I took 20 minutes to find, only to fix the problem, which was, let's say, pretty basic. It was a configuration issue. So if you make it harder for people to get in contact with you, it will eventually reduce the number of support tickets that you have, but that will also cause a lot of people to be much more angry at your service than what they were. And then there's this thing which is ask for the right feedback, right? Who here has been to Portugal? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, whoa, that's dangerous. Hi, do you speak English? Yeah, what is your name? Okay, so if I ask you what was your experience in Portugal, what would you say? Yeah, exactly. But that's what hotels, for instance, are doing. They're sending these surveys by the end of the stay asking, hey, how was your experience at the bar? I've never been to the bar. And because you have a PMS, and because you have a CRM, you know that I've never been to the bar. As I know you've never been to Portugal because I asked this question. So why on earth would I come to you and ask, what do you feel about Portugal? How was your experience in Portugal if you've never been there? And so if as a business, you're not asking the right questions to the right people, you're missing up on the opportunity to A, provide a better customer service, and to B, take advantage of that feedback that you ask in service to actually improve your service and eventually improve your bottom line, right? Most of the times when you try to improve that process and we get to the point where we're really improving it, we start to realize that businesses were not expecting to learn as much from the service as they could, because they treat service, they treat asking customers how the experience was as an obligation, right? You have to send a survey in the end because it's the right thing to do. But no, you send a survey in the end because you want to know how the experience was, so that next time with that user, with that client, or with someone else, you can actually improve your experience and be better at treating your guests, your clients, your customers. It doesn't matter. And then there's this saying, which is customer service starts with a question. And if you go to some customer service books, you will read that there, right? And for me, that's bullshit. And that's bullshit. Why? Because customer service starts with a customer, or with a potential customer, not with a question. You don't expect the customer to ask a question so you can start providing great customer experience, great customer service. At the time you have a potential customer in front of you, you start doing your thing. And your thing is, in most of the cases, being proactive. And when I say being proactive, I mean trying to anticipate the customer needs. And when I say that, people always think of this, right? But that's not the case. I'm not saying just pull out a magic ball and try to predict the future. What I'm saying is use all the technology that you have at your disposal to switch your mindset. And switching your mindset, it's coming from the, what do I do now? Okay, my customer is complaining. What do I do? What do I do? Who do I call? To the point where you're talking ahead. What do I do next? How do I make sure that my customers will not ever get to the point where they will complain? And so there's a lot of things you can do with technology these days. One of them is, of course, mapping and looking at past habits, and you do that with a very powerful CRM and billing tool. You can profile the clients with their online selves. I tried one time, but it didn't really work because it takes a lot of time to do it live. But basically, if I have your email address, I can try and go to some services online to pull out the available information on the internet for you. And that means the reviews you did on TripAdvisor, that means your profile picture on Facebook if that's public, your age on Facebook if that's public, well, actually everything on Facebook that is public. And then you need to ask as much as you can. We have so much short interactions with our clients. Be it online or be it in the physical space, we have just a limited amount of time in which we interact with the customer. And we need to ask questions, and we need to ask smart questions, because we need to understand as much as we can so that in the next interaction we're more prepared to suit their needs. And then when things go wrong, always ask for a second chance. And that's something amazing. We got to an hotel, which I won't name because it's my client and probably will never be again if I name it. And they have a pile of people that left complaints, okay? And so what they usually do is they send an apology email, which is fine and which is a good start. But what they never do, and we did, and it translated into a 50% or over 50% comeback from those clients that never came in the period before, we asked for a second chance. We just sent an email to those clients who were not satisfied, and we said, hey, look, we've been trying to improve the service since you were here with the things we learned from you and from others. We think we are a bit better at it now. Please come back. And the surprising thing, or not so surprising, is that people, when they ask a human thing, they usually try to reply humanly, and they come back. So, also very important, replying and engaging with customers on social networks where you are not present. Here, for instance, is a good example. I just took it from the web. Basically, there's a client saying that the car was broken into at the parking lot. And then comes the general manager at the Hilton Hotel and explains that, hi, sir, I'm very sorry about that. We'll do everything we can to fix it, but actually the park isn't ours. And replying to the social network feedback or to the review site feedback is not an act of weakness. It's actually our act of smartness. Because from that point on, you know a lot more about your customer, and your customer feels that the complaint isn't in vain and has actually some very good reply to it. And then there's this replies, which is basically, this is a funny one. So basically what you see here is a customer which is complaining about the restaurant and the experience in the restaurant, right? And then comes the manager and says that he spoke with the employee that took care of the guests while they were there, and he says to the unsatisfied guest, "Hey, you were a jackass." Right? And so even though clients and customers, they might be jackasses at some point, you should never tell them that. Let them discover by themselves, okay? And so, don't wait for them to complain. Again, be proactive is not a crystal ball, it's actually knowing what you can do. And what you can do in most of the cases is automate. And a lot of brands are doing it right now, but they are doing it wrong. Why? They automate what? Data extraction, service, trigger email communication, profiling. All that can be done with a computer, and that saves a lot of that doesn't save jobs, it's the other way around. And that saves a lot of time for actually the people that you have working for you. But what you always should do is put a human oversight on it to make sure that your emails, the emails that you're sending, are human and are not very sterile, right? Because most of the communication I get from brands is not personal. But if you look at it, a brand, a company, as people. And people have a natural tendency to expect to relate themselves not with impersonal, unidentified entities, but actually with other people that happen to belong to a bigger organization of people. The second thing is, be quick, be present. And there's this thing with social media talks that you should always be online. All the time. Be online on Facebook all the time. Be online on Twitter all the time. And that is funny because I don't think like that. I think you should be very clear on the expectations. So you should be very clear in telling your customer that you'll be there from 8 to 8 or from 10 to 10. So what that does is that it manages the expectations from your customer, because if it is very clear that you're only providing support from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., then if they make a question at 10, they know beforehand that the likelihood of getting a response before 8 a.m. the next day is very low. And if you reply before 8 a.m., that's a freaking great surprise. And prepare for mobile first. We're talking mobile, we're talking digital this time. I'm not really a big fan of mobile first or mobile second or whatever. I think you need to prepare for mobile. And preparing for mobile is tailoring your experience to the mobile space, which means you need to make sure that the buying process, the supporting process all around your user is tailored to mobile. And here we can see two examples of a booking system, and you can, I guess, I mean, who thinks the left one is the most interesting user experience for the user? The left one? You guys think the right one is the better? Seriously, show your hands. Who thinks this one is the best experience? Okay. You think that is the best experience? We need to talk. Okay. And who thinks this is the best experience for the user? Okay. It's all about the sizes and the design and the way things are fitted into context. And so it all makes sense, right? Respond with technological evolution with technology. But here comes the hard part. Here you can see the whole customer service cycle. And what happens is you start with the product and the purchase process, right? You go to a store, you have a way to acquire a product or service, and you have a process for that. And that process needs to be adaptable and needs to be tailored to the user and to the expectations of the user. And then comes the difficult part, because now you have to match between traditional channels and new channels. You have to match every interaction you have with the user with every piece of data that you have of the user, and now that's becoming huge because you have a lot of information from the user. And so the only way to be very good at customer experience and customer satisfaction is if you manage this cycle. Okay? So you're very good in the user experience in your channels, you're very good in traditional channels, you understand and you take advantage of every interaction with the user, your purchase process and your product is fine, and then you have every piece of the data. And what I tell companies is that please mind consistency. And consistency is very important. Why? Because it is better for you guys if you have across the board 4-star service. So if you are 4 stars in every one of those things, it is better than being 5 stars here and then 2 stars here, because what users expect the most, and researchers have shown that, is consistency. So they might be very well impressed if they get to your business and they see in the traditional part, I don't know, a good service from the person that is there. But then if they go online and they need support and they don't find the support, that's more disappointing than not finding here into the traditional channels a good experience in the first place. So this is really a matter of managing efforts and managing resources and making sure that you distribute the resources across this cycle over here. And we've spent a lot of time making that. And then there's this thing which is the CRM, and I have a biological problem with CRMs. Right? Because I get to a company, I ask which CRM do you use, and they always show me a different one, and they show me how they use it. And always, 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 brands use CRMs for sales, oriented to sales. But actually, if you look to the freaking word, it's not sales, it's relationship. Right? The CRM should not be a way to make a sale. The CRM should be a way to build up a relationship that eventually, can be a short relationship or a long relationship, that eventually will drive a sale. A sale is a byproduct of a relationship. And your CRM, it should be optimized for the relationship, to knowing everything about your user, to putting context to it, to knowing as much as you can in the context of the interaction you're having with him, than rather to just appoint the next meeting or try to see which emails did you send him to make sure that you can make the next perfect sale. And so this looks done by a 4-year-old, right? But it was actually done by me, sorry. And that is like what we like to present our clients. So I'm doing that with you guys today. And so what we do, and I'm going to go here, is, I hope you don't mind, is, the camera guys are gonna kill me. We have your client at the center of everything, because the client is the most important thing, right? And the thing is, you have a CRM, and you have service at the end, you have social networks where the user can post, you have social networks where you can get information, you have your mailing system, and that little fellow right there, it's you. So, what do? We, as managers of companies, we take a look at social networks and see what is being said about us across all those networks. But we should set up our CRM to also be reading data from those networks in terms of general feedback, but as well in terms of information about that client. You see that faceless client? We need to put a face to that. And the way you do it is we go online and we try to get as much information about that client as possible. Very important note, don't be creepy, right? We had an hotel which idea was to actually put your face in the TV when you got to the room. That is creepy, right? I don't want my face on my hotel TV. It's fine if you have it to recognize me and greet me as Ricardo. Hi, Ricardo, how are you? How was your flight? But putting it on my TV, showing me how much information you have about me, it's creepy. Don't be creepy. And so, the CRM reads a lot of data from social networks. And what the CRM always does is it sends contextual information to surveys. So that when me, as a client, get out of your business, I receive a survey that is actually tailored to the experience I had. And of course, here, you cannot see it because the slide is not big and I didn't put it actually, is your billing software which feeds the CRM. Right? This is very important. You should have all the information centralized in one place. And also what the CRM does is the CRM gathers information from your client that you put there, is you putting information in the CRM. And the CRM also is linked to your messaging services, to your email sending server, to make sure that you don't treat me to, hey client, how are you? You treat me as Ricardo because you know my name, right? One of the funny things, I don't know if our bank, Bancomat machines, right? I don't know how they work here, but actually every card we have in the pocket, it has my name on it, right? And one of the funny things I saw a while ago was I was in Spain, in a bank I can't remember, and they did for the first time, I think it's very smart, which is I put the card and it has hello Ricardo. Because they have my name anyway. The card can read, actually, if you have a card reader back at home, you can read a credit card or a debit card, not information about your account. It's safe, but actually the name. So providing that tailored experience, it's so easy, it's so basic that I was like staring at it for a while and my card almost got caught. Yeah, so anyway, you have this thing right here, and here comes the hard part. And we've been having discussions with our clients over this for I don't know how long, which is at the end of the survey, ask your clients to leave feedback on social networks. Either if it is bad or if it is good. And people always get very scared because if they have a bad experience, they will share the bad experience on TripAdvisor and Facebook. But have you seen the potential of this system? Because now you have, let's imagine, you have a bad feedback on TripAdvisor. But now you can link it. Right? You can know the survey it belonged to because it came from your system, the feedback. So you know more information because you will not publish the whole survey on TripAdvisor. And then because you have this link to your CRM, you know more about your client. And because the CRM was pulling data from social networks, you know even more about your client. And because you have it linked to a messaging system, you can automate it so that if the client leaves a bad feedback on TripAdvisor, you're notified, you go to TripAdvisor, you take care of that, and then the system automatically sends to the user an email apologizing, right? For us, that's how we've been trying to work out the process. Anyway, either offline or online, it doesn't matter. The thing that you should really care about is the small things. And we've all heard these stories. So businesses that make the front page because of great because of great customer experiences they provided, because of small gestures they made. So be it, this is actually a very good example and not one people usually mention, which is a very easy one. So basically, this guy here is a mechanic, and he sends this handwritten card to all his clients on the first time they do business with him. And it usually works because they return, because they like to receive back at home, in their address, this very little nice gift. And then fans that ask for something and get autographed stuff, and then being nice to one another, which is also very important. But I don't want to talk to you about those stories. If you want to read those stories, you put great customer service stories in Google, and it will probably tell you better stories than I can. It has a bigger memory, actually. Because those stories are like the small things, the small points where you can shine. And if you can do that, then please do, because it's a great idea to shine. But again, consistency is the most important thing, because you can do that to one client and it will be like loving you forever. But if you don't provide a good enough experience for the rest of your customers, then you're pretty much screwed. So we've all heard these stories, and the most important thing is define your CSS. Who here is a tech guy? See, this is not cascade style sheets. This is customer satisfaction strategy. Define it. And defining your customer satisfaction strategy, and let's do a wrap up of what we talk, is showing that you care, is looking after the customer, making sure he is happy, is being consistent across all your channels and across all your interactions, is delivering great buying and support experience to your users on mobile, on tablets, on the computer, is listening and asking the right questions at the right time, and is pretty much thinking ahead. And it starts with you. So if you are a manager or you have some sort of role where you can lead that change, it starts with you, but it is not only about you, right? Coming back to the consistency, if you are great and you understand that customer service is important, but then the people actually working in your company don't, then that's a problem. The organizations that usually work very well in terms of customer satisfaction are the ones in which the CEO, the VP, but also the janitor and the guy who cleans the bathroom, they all understand that they must greet the customer, they must treat it well, and they must provide a great experience. So train your people. And I'm going to repeat this point because I think it's very important. Learn and train, learn and train, learn and train. That's all you got to do, is learning from what your customers are saying and training yourself and your staff to adapt to those feedback and to the methodology of thinking about the user first. And let's come back to the client is always right thing. That is not true, right? The client sometimes is wrong, and I think that saying is really wrong because the client sometimes is stupid and it doesn't treat the people at the business correctly. But here is not a matter of he is right or wrong. Here is a matter of who needs who. And you need your client more than your client needs you because your client has other options. And you will say, yes, I also have other clients, but if you start losing a lot of those, it becomes complicated. So learn and train, learn and train. And then, of course, adapt and adjust your strategy as you go along. And so in the end, being great at customer service is a lot about looking at the data, looking at the analytics, drawing conclusions from it, drawing conclusions from the customer feedback you're getting, and then matching it with what you feel is right. Because businesses are not only driven by numbers, they're driven by people. And you as a person, instead of the spreadsheet on the computer, you know better probably, unless your heart is somewhere else, how to treat people. And now comes the super secret with which we usually hand presentations. How do you treat your customers better? How do you improve instantly the results in terms of customer satisfaction? And people always think I'm crazy when I say this because it's so obvious, it's an easy joke. But actually when they start thinking about it, they realize that the trick here is being human. If you're not human, if you don't treat people like you like to be treated, you're never gonna get good at customer service. Your business is never gonna be good to your customer if you are a jackass. If you're a terrible person, if you're a person I don't want to have dinner with, then your business is never going to be a good business in terms of customer support and customer satisfaction. Because in business, more and more the interactions are short and not so fertile. And so we need to take every chance we got to actually be human and humanify the business, humanize the business to make sure that we get the results we expect. And when you start to be human and you treat your employees as humans and you explain them, hey, see, you're at this counter, you get the minimum wage. It freaking sucks. But if you don't treat your customer, the customer that enters into these doors, the right way, you'll go to unemployment, which sucks even more. Right? So it's not a decision, again, of it's right or it's wrong. It's a decision of what is better and what is worse. And I've been doing a lot that with companies, training and working with them. And I wanted to do something special for you guys that came here and spent the time hearing me when you could be outside having fun. Which is, so my email is black@colorelephant.com. And we're going to do, so we have a lot of research, we have a lot of data, and we're going to do 10, 30-minute sessions with people here, so you have to prove that you actually were here, to be able to work out and understand, even if you're a small business, we've been working with a lot of startups, because the funny thing is startups are getting it better. Why? Because most startups rely on a subscription model. And the freaking amazing thing about a subscription model is that you need the client the next month. Otherwise, you're not going to pay the bills. And so you understand how important it is not only to make it happy to the point he buys, but actually to constantly make him happy to make sure he keeps buying. And so small or big, it doesn't matter. Send me an email. We're going to do a 30-minute Skype call. I promise it's not going to be very general bullshit. It's going to be straight to business, straight to how you can do something, and that's completely free. I don't want even any business with that. It's just we want to get to the point where we have a lot of people thinking about a lot of customer service, because the thing that really matters to me is that the next time I go to your business or the next time I go to your website and I buy something, I want to have a great experience. And that's why I freaking work a lot to make sure my customers have a great experience, is because I want to provide one. So guys, thank you very much. You can, so here's the thing. We're entering this technological world where we ask you to, if you want to ask a question to Ricardo, tweet a question. But actually, we are all in the same room. So if you have a question, just stand up and ask the questions. I've heard Lithuanian people are not exactly the kind of people that asks a lot of questions. But we can try to, come on, you guys are tired of me. I'm going to tell them to close the door, and we need to have at least one question. Otherwise, I won't go, right? I will be here pressuring you for the rest of the morning or the afternoon if you don't ask one question. Come on. I don't want to be here either. I want to go eat. There has to be a question. Hey, close the door. Can you close the door? Don't let anyone out. Don't let anyone out. They're running away from me. That's not fair. I don't think it is fair. So you have a question. You have a question? You have a question? No. Oh, great. How are you? What is your name?
I just sent you an email.
Oh, you sent me an email. Yeah, but stand up and ask your question.
Hello.
Don't tweet me. Ask me the questions here. It's more human.
I missed the first part of your presentation. I was late, I have to confess. So you might have covered that.
You're forgiven.
Thanks. You might have covered that. What about the self-service? You know, the trend for self-service support, self-service services, and so on. What's your comment, insights on that? Thanks.
You need to make a great link between that and the actual human support. So it makes sense that you provide a platform where people can search for answers to their questions, because that will reduce the load on your people and that will increase the results, right? So that makes sense. But at the same time, if I don't find the response, or I prefer to contact the support, then provide me a great experience there. Because what usually happens is, and I hate that, I go to the knowledge base of some websites and services. I don't find what I want. I then contact the support, and the support says, search on the knowledge base. I've done that already. Just provide me with a freaking answer, right? Otherwise, don't have a support. Just have the knowledge base.
Do you have good examples of self-service methods?
Like, for instance, we used to work, we don't work anymore for other reasons, but we used to work in terms of hosting. We used to work with Media Temple. I don't know if that's a partner here that is hosting, but sorry. And they have very good support. Because what happens is they have a very complete and a very good knowledge base. Very searchable, very by category. When you go to the explanations, it's actually step by step. And then when you contact the support, they actually answer your question, which I think is the right process in something like this. Yeah. Perfect. So you had one question. Thank her. A round of applause. Thank you. You can now get rid of me and go do your own stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys can improve your customer service. Thank you.